Hello, 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 Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations. Tonight, we are going to be in the presence of somebody who I cherish so deeply. And it's going to be a spiritual conversation, and that's why I am saging the space, because I don't even know what we are in for. The person who I am going to bring on board, I'll introduce her when she comes. Oh, there she is. There she is. There she is. There she is. So we're gonna just go ahead and get started. Well, first I want to introduce, if folks are on this for the very first time, this is Candid Conversations. It's a conversations that I have with dear friends of mine, or friends that folks recommend, to share their stories for the intention of supporting the thriving and healing of others. You know, when we share stories with one another, we literally, it's a process of healing, a process of transformation, and a process in which we have personal impact and then impact with individuals that we interact with in our worlds. And so tonight, I'm just going to bring her right on in. Oh, see, this is where technology and me, we're emerging friends. We're emerging friends. We're going to get this on. Okay, it's not allowing me to. She must have left. So you got to come back, darling. You got to come back, darling. So tonight, we are engaging in a conversation around, martyr, from martyr to healer. The person that I am bringing on is La Doctora. Here she is. Here she is. Here she is. Here. So technology and I are emerging friends, and it's been a while since we've connected. Hello, beautiful.
What's up, mama? ¿Cómo estamos, mi gente?
Mi amor, yo te quiero tanto, amor. And I love that artwork in the back.
Let's show everybody. So this was something that my granddaughter drew last year. So this is my little one, Sophia. This is my niece, Penny, right here. This is Mama. That's me. I'm Mama. This is her. And then she threw her mother all the way at the end, like she didn't really care.
Ay, hombre.
Like,
Ay,
espérate,
Dios
pero
mío.
espérate, que hay que limpiar la cámara. Espérate, que estamos mal hoy. Oh,
Listen.
espérate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, girl, I was just about to be like, mi amor, let's get un pañito.
No, niña. It's been one of those days. Hold
on. Well, look, you see, La Doctora Priscila Pender, she's already gonna start to talk before I even introduce her. So I'm gonna have to go like this to my Doctora Priscila Pender, because I have to give you an appropriate introduction. Okay? Very appropriate. So tonight we have the honor, the privilege, and it really is my privilege and honor to have La Doctora Priscila Pender with us tonight. Doctora Priscila and I met 4 years ago.
Yes.
I was embarking on a transformation journey through Momentum Education, and I was in my leadership program. And I met La Doctora. She wasn't La Doctora then, but she was always a Doctora, because she was always walking around like she was always schooling people and getting you together. And I remember that at that time that I met you, there was something you said to me. It was the end of the weekend.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember this. So get your Kleenex tissue for tonight. Because the conversations that we're going to engage in tonight, it may or may not, disclaimer, initiate some tears, and that's okay.
And that's all right.
So when I met La Doctora Priscila Pender, we vibed right away. We had a 90-day journey.
Yes.
And at the end of that journey, she turned to me and she said, girl, you are holding out on the world.
Oh.
People don't even know who you are. You need to stop playing small, right? Like, you challenged me in the most loving and respectful way. And I have to say that journey I am so grateful for, because I was able to harness so many of my skills that I had been kind of playing around with, but I wasn't sure. I remember I was in my doctoral program, but very insecure and not sure and uncertain. And so today I want to thank you for your involvement in my life and in my personal transformation, because then you continue to contact me. Girl was texting me like, so what you doing? How's your dissertation? How's your family? I was like, why is she stalking me? And you shared, and you always asked me about my spirituality, right? You saw in me some spiritual gifts that I wasn't really sure about. And
oh,
I
you
remember
make me
I was
cry.
like,
Stop. Oh my God.
I was like, girl, what are you talking about? Right? Look, before you came on, girl, I saged. Before you came on, I was talking to the people.
I saw you say
I was
you had to
talking
see
to
it.
the
You had to see
people.
me.
I was like, listen, we're about to have a spiritual conversation. So I want to thank you for that. So Doctora Priscila Pender, there goes, because we can't have a live without Eileen up on deck.
Where,
Eileen? We weren't going to start without
Eileen.
you, girl. So you are, I wanted to write this down because I get so excited when I see you that I wanted to make sure that I was a little focused, just to make sure I give you the proper introduction. Because you know how you have certain people in your life that when you see them, no matter where they are in their status, like it just evokes so much joy and energy and connection. Like you just want to be all on top of them. That's like me. And if Doctora, we were in the same room, I would be like, ah! Right? I wouldn't even be able to have a conversation, right? So Doctora Priscila Pender was a teenage mom. Right? She's a mentor. She is a child abuse neglect expert, right? Advocate and survivor of domestic violence, advocate of LGBTQ community. And you got the nerve, Doctora Priscila Pender, to send me a text talking about I'm an aspiring writer. Now you know you are a writer.
I am a writer.
So I wanted to correct you because you are not an aspiring writer, you're a writer. So enough of the introductions. Thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you for, I think I'm gonna take a break for the next 2 weeks because there's been like a lot of stuff happening. My daughter's about to go to college this weekend, so I just fixed up my makeup because I've been crying all day, on and off, just thinking about my baby being away. But anyhow, so let's talk about what made you say yes to engaging in a conversation about you, the gifts you bring to the table. I mean, from martyr to healer is deep. As community of color, Latinx, Dominican, Puerto Riqueña, right?
Huepa.
Right? We come from a community of people, of healers, of warriors, and also of, unfortunately, individuals that tend to put themselves before everyone else, and as a result suffer greatly for it in so many different ways, right? Financially, health-wise, and what have you. So many of you folks know when folks come on this show, if you want to call it a show.
It is a show, girl. Don't minimize it. I don't care the platform that it's on. Let's start right here. You know me.
Look, there she goes with her. There she goes. You see, she's already coaching. See, and I told her it's not about me today. It's about you. But you see where she's going. So we're gonna have to.
But hold on. But I'm gonna stop you because you know me. You know me for too many damn years. For me, 4 years. We may chronologically have known each other for 4 years, but our souls and our spirit have known each other for a long time.
Come on.
Let's not go there.
Let's
not go there. But we don't get to minimize ourselves anymore. This is 2020.
Right.
This 2020. We're not doing that no more.
Absolutely
not. I only want to establish one ground rule, and my ground rule is the following. I always tell people that I give 100% of myself regardless of what it is. And before I came on, I was supporting my best friend in drafting an email for work and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
And I said to her, I gotta go, but join the live. It's gonna be magic. I said, I'm like, just join. So she's here. My sister's here. My cousins are here all the way from Puerto Rico. Hey, you know, like they're all here. And I say that if there's something that you feel, you guys that are watching, if there's something that you feel, throw it up. Cindy and I will read it. I will stop and pause and see and act, because I always feel like everybody who engages with you, Cindy, is for a reason, right? So I remember, first of all, thank you for asking me, for inviting me to have a conversation with you, because you and I have conversations all the damn time. And it always starts with Ike, doctora, right? It always started like that. It was always a one-sided doctora, but not no more. And I curse like a sailor. So if it slips out, it's just me. I'm me 100%. How you see me right now and how you see me in this conversation is how I am. I do curtail it to my audience, you know, but we're having a candid conversation, right? And I can't say, let's have a candid conversation and not be myself.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. And that's one of the things that has gotten me through life in those difficult moments, was me being myself. I don't need to pretend to be anybody else. I am 100% perfectly Priscilla. That's it.
That's
a
right.
Motherfucking manifesting unicorn.
That's it. You see that's it.
That's it.
With a big D. That's
with
it.
a big D.
Right?
That's
so
it.
Let's talk about it. So martyr to healer.
Yeah.
When I think of a martyr, right, what comes to mind is I went to Catholic school, grew up Catholic, and this whole idea of dying, right, like literally dying. And many of us are dead spiritually, and you're here physically, but you're not even living life. That's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, that's a whole, you better get about 3 of these lives in with me if this is what we're going to start.
Right, right. So I already know we're not even going to.
You already know. They're not ready. They don't know nothing.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you bring to the world.
So who I am, that's a good question. Well, before we do anything, congratulations on your doctorate. When I first met Cindy, Cindy is such a magnetic personality, right? And Cindy has this way of brightening up a room when it's full of darkness. It may be physically lit, but the atmosphere feels like, ugh. And I remember exactly where you sat. You sat in the front, 1, 2, 3, 3 seats from the aisle,
Diablo.
right? And you came up, you were next to Martha. I remember that. You sat next to Martha. If I'm not mistaken, Martha was on your left-hand side. Okay, because I pay attention. See, my head is always on, my eyes are always like, I'm always looking, I'm always observing. Because I feel energy. For me, it's all about energy, right? And so I remember when you came up to the room and everybody was, you know, they have this thing in Momentum when we were meeting together where they would say, everybody go up and introduce yourselves, right? And so one of the things that we do as adults is that we kind of minimize ourselves, right? We're like, I don't want to be the first one, what? You know, and we lose that thing, that spark. Not this lady right here. Absolutely not. By the time it was her turn, because we were going like this in turns, by the time it was her turn, she got up and she was like, hi, my name is Cindy Bautista-Thomas. She won me that day. I said, and I tell you, because I had, if you remember Steven, Steven was sitting, I was sitting with Steven. It was the first time I was coaching, right? So it was the first time I was coaching and I was so nervous. And I said, you know what? I said, this is what I said before I even set foot in the sacred space, because that is a sacred space, right? Where you share yourself, it is always a sacred space. So I said to myself, I said this prayer and I said it right before coming in. Y me puse my oils, you know what I mean?
Claro.
My oils. Yo me puse mi oils, no porque tú me vas a
tiene que protegerse.
No, I was like, keep it moving. Okay? So I said, I always say a prayer before I speak. And I said, God, guide my words. Let the words that I have to say today touch, move, and inspire someone in a way that they never thought possible. That is what I always say. If I'm training, if I'm having a difficult conversation, and really any kind of conversation, I always say, God, guide my words. See, I'm gonna cry already. See, Cindy, no, we're not here to do this, but okay.
I told you go get the tissue. Go ahead, we'll wait.
About to get the tissues. So for me, where it started for me was with Francisca de Jesus Ruiz. Ruiz de Jesus. That is my grandmother.
Wow.
My dad's mom. And my dad's mom, mi abuelita, taught me how to pray when I was about 4 years old. I was 4 or 5 years old. She came on a visit from Puerto Rico, and she stayed with us. I'm originally from Hudson County, and I'm Union City, New Jersey, here in Hudson County, and I remember that she came over, and I always had my own room, but I always was like alone because I have a sister, but she was born when I was 6, so I was a little bit alone. And she would say, "Nena, ven, que te voy a enseñar algo." Ven. And my grandmother, no lie, now I'm 4'11", okay, and my grandmother was like 4'7" on a good day. My little itty bitty. But she was a powerhouse, yo. And she taught me about prayer and faith. And she taught me how to pray, right? So the prayer that she taught me, y agarra las manos así, y le vamos a orar a Dios. And you're going to grab your hands like this, and you're going to pray to God. And you're going to ask God for what you want. And I was like, oh my God, I could talk to God. I didn't know I could do that. Like, I'm 4, what the heck do I know? I was going to church, I was born and raised Catholic, so I was like, oh, okay. So she taught me 2 prayers. And she taught me, con Dios me acuesto, con Dios me levanto, con la gracia y el favor del Espíritu Santo. That one, right? And then she taught me, ángel de mi guardia, dulce compañía, no me desampares ni de noche ni de día.
What?
Okay.
Your grandmother, my grandmother was like this.
Mama, I say that prayer every night. I've said that prayer every night since she taught it to me. The first time I said it, it took a little practice because I was singing it. I was like, con Dios me acuesto, con Dios me levanto, con Dios me cepillo, con Dios me baño. I was like, I said, and she goes to me, no, nena, no eso. I was 4, dude. What do I know? I'm here thinking, well, I got to tell him everything that he's with me all the time. But
you were telling him, and then I put on the wrong sock. Like,
Sandy, you know what? But that's what she taught me, right? That's what she taught me. Abuela Paquita. That's what we called her, Abuela Paquita. And Abuela Paquita gave me that at the age of 4. And I used that power because I was like, well, God, if I want you to give me, I wouldn't pray for toys, actually. I would not. What I prayed for was a sister. I prayed for a sister. Wow. And I said, God, I just want a little sister that will play with me, that I could love, that would be my friend, that would be whatever, and I prayed. I prayed since my grandmother taught me that prayer, and I got my wish. I got my prayer. My prayer was answered because 2 years later, my sister came. And I remember saying, I was nagging my parents. I'm not trying to say that that's why she's here, but I'm just saying. She's on the live. She knows. And I remember asking my mom, I really want a little sister. I really want a little sister. And my mom was like, oh, yeah. And so what I didn't know at that time, but I know now, is that my mom wanted more children, but was having a difficult time. No, I didn't share toys, Patty. I sure didn't.
Wow, they put you
on blast. No,
but
she be shouting me out. She be shouting me out.
They put you on blast.
She could put me on blast all she wants, because she knows what she knows. She knows that right now,
share your toys.
I was little, and that was it. We gonna leave it like that.
No judgment.
No judgment. But I learned at a very early age that if I had faith in something, it was gonna happen. And I needed that lesson because it's the lesson that has carried me out. I just turned 43, actually 3 weeks ago today. I turned 43.
Happy belated, Ew.
Okay.
And she looks like she's 22.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Like, what?
I have a 25-year-old. Don't tell her that.
So let me so her name was Abuela Paquita?
Abuela, yeah, we used to call her name was Francisca. Let me say this, because it's not that she's not here. She's here. She's just in a different form, right? Yeah. So her energy and her spirit is still here. Okay. I talk to her every day. I have one of her dresses hanging in my closet, and I'll go into that closet and I'll be like, bendición, abuela, buenos días. Because I'm like, I could feel her. I could feel her. So I began to realize at a very early age that my mom was, you know, gonna have a baby, right? She told me she was gonna have a baby, and I said, it's a girl, and her name is Patricia. It's a girl, her name is Patricia. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. And so anybody that met me, I was like, my mommy's having a baby. It's a girl, her name is Patricia. And my sister's name is Patricia.
Wow. So
okay. But the story behind that one is because back in the day, Aguada, mommy, my family's from Aguada, from the West Coast. So back in the day, the Pepsi cans had the words PAT. And I thought that was like, the can's name was Patricia. So I was like, okay, Patricia, that's it. But it was Patton. That was an abbreviation. Oh. So, you know, Patricia could have been Patton, but I chose otherwise.
So you pray for Patricia. Patricia shows up.
Patricia shows up, and Patricia is like my homie to death. Patricia was what I call my first baby, right? Because we were so far, we're 6 years apart. So as we get older, I'm able to do more. I would take her with me. And, you know, we were like, you know, we did that. But I realized, and I always had that in my mind, that I made my sister come here. Like there was just something that told me inside that I was able to do that. And so, you know, a lot of things happen in my life. And like you said, like, so I'm a survivor of sexual child abuse. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a survivor of just life, you know, the beat up that we get in life sometimes, that we give ourselves in life. Absolutely. Right? Because I will say this, and I say this to everyone, anything that has happened to me in my life, from the abuse or just anything, I am so grateful to have gone through it. Because if I had not gone through that, we would not be here at 8:21 having a candid conversation with Cindy. We would not be. We wouldn't. And I am very much aware of that because that is life, right? And so if we don't see that the things that happen, things don't happen like to us, they happen for us. Things happen for a reason, right? So there was a reason as to why, for some reason, that little soda can that I saw had PAT. I was like, that's Patricia. That's what it is. But, you know, it's only proof of the power that we have of manifestation, right? And so as I get older and I'm going through this and I see that power, sometimes you step into it and you're like, yeah, I'm here. And sometimes you're like afraid of that power because it's real.
Listen, you're talking right now, and your energy is so overwhelming for me right now that I gotta light this Palo Santo right quick.
And you know what? And I hope, and my hope is that in this conversation, you know, because we are having this exchange, and when we are in conversation with anyone, we are in an energy exchange. We are in a relationship. And so right now, people get to see our dynamic in our relationship. So what you guys are seeing right now, this is us. This is me and Cindy all the time.
This is us. But you know what? Pray, because you know I got to stop you for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you shared, and a disclaimer for anyone on the live right now that may have been impacted by the different areas that Doctora Priscila touched upon. You know, if you need to take care of yourself during this conversation, please do that. You know, I'm a social worker through and through. So I'm going to share with you sometimes the conversations that are happening on Instagram, they're not for you maybe at that moment. Maybe you come back to it, and that's okay. I saved this on the IGTV. It also goes up on the YouTube. But you shared some things, right? That, you know, and what I was feeling, and that's why I had to light the Palo Santo, is like all of the ancestors, all that it took, right? All the healing, all the pain, because you can't get to the healing without acknowledging and feeling the pain.
Oh, girl, how do you love light and not appreciate the dark?
Come on.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. What was that process like for you?
Yeah. So for me, it's all been about perspective, right? When you are in the middle of the mess and the shit, because that's really what it feels like, mess and shit, and you can't see but like right here in front of you, that's not the time to say, well, this is what it is. No, you got to go through it. And I've seen, listen, Cindy, whew, if I tell you, and you and I have shared with each other, we've had 4 years to get to know each other. And one of the reasons why I always reached out to you was because there was something about your soul that spoke to me in one way, shape, or form. It did. And so it resonated, right? And we talk a lot about mirrors and how someone mirrors you, right? And so you were for me, and I told you that at one point. I said, you are for me the teacher. Our roles reversed at one point.
And I was like,
and you were like, what? Really? What? You got it together? And I said, hell no. Because I'll be the first one to say I am the messiest, bleepity bleep, because I'll respect your space. Because if I was in my IG, I'd be like, beep, 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 beep. I'll be posting on. But I say I love being messy because it is real.
Yes.
Because it is what supported me my entire coaching lifetime. I'll say it like this, because I've been coaching people my whole life without even knowing what I was doing. I was just being me. I was just letting go. I was just coaching somebody at work on their relationship, on their marriage, right? Or well, on their ex-marriage. And I'm here telling this person yesterday at work, I was social distanced. I had double masks because I'm not playing with nobody. I ain't trying to catch COVID. And I'm here saying to this person, if you don't want a relationship with someone, then stop sleeping with them. It's very simple. Right? Stop doing the things that you don't want to do so that you can get the things that you want. It's very simple. It's very simple. It really is that simple. It's simple to say, but it is hard to execute.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to execute. And throughout my entire life, I've gone through periods and moments where I've had to coach myself. And I've gotten really good at it. I've gotten so good at it that conversations are in my car. If people were to see me, they're like, oh, she must be talking to somebody. 9 out of 10 times I'm talking to myself.
But let's talk about that, because the most important conversation that you will ever have is the ones that you have with yourself, right? You could go to a million transformation training. You could read a gazillion personal development books. You could listen to 20,000 podcasts, right? But until you make that decision, so walk us through it, because there are folks that are listening, right, that have been through some of the things you've shared and even more, right? And every day it's a decision, am I going to live or not, right? Like every day it's making life shifting decisions. So how do you get to that point where you're talking to yourself? And I would love to be a little bug in that car. And I want to hear, like, what are you saying to yourself?
Listen, so what I say to myself, especially now, right? When I was the martyr, because during Momentum was the first time that somebody checked me, right?
Come on.
And I always, because I lived by this thing. Look, this is the Gonzalez look. This is my daddy's look. So I used to live by this way that I was like, oh my God, if I don't do it, it won't get done. And nobody knows how to do it but me. And blah, 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 blah. And I got sick and tired of hearing myself say that. Like, I'm like, disgusted. It was disgusting how bad it got. It was just like, it was like verbal vomit, verbal diarrhea of the same porqueria, the same basura, the same garbage all the time. And I really got sick and tired of myself complaining. Because I would say, well, then why do you complain? Do something about it. But I wasn't living what I was saying.
Wow.
Mama, when you realize that you're the one that's full of shit and not everybody else, that's real. That is so real.
Yes.
That is real. And so for many, many, many years, I had to really evolve with how I treated myself and evolve with what I was willing to put up with. And don't get me wrong, please, people, don't get me wrong, because up until right before going on this live, I had to be checking myself, even today, because Petty Pri, oh, she's good. Whew. Esa desgracia te lo tira. And I used to tell people, and I don't say this anymore because I don't live like this anymore. If 2020 taught me something, it was like, you really got to check yourself, boo. And I used to tell people, I could go ahead and curse you out without using one damn curse word. Y te mando para el mismo carajo de donde viniste. Okay? And I would look at people just like this. Okay? So when I squinted my eyes, you know it was real because I have big eyes. But when I squinted them, it was real. And what was that? Was that making me taller? No. Was it making me thinner? Absolutely not. Was it adding money to my bank account? No. What it was doing was actually taking my life from me. It was. It really was. Because I'm here saying and like glorifying that I could go ahead and cut you, and my tongue is like a ginsu. See, my best friend is here. She's like saying, LOL.
So true. Is that her so true?
That's so true. That's her. Hey, Boo Boo Kitty. That's what I call her, Boo Boo Kitty. You know, and I would say that, and I would say that with so much pride.
Wow.
Until I had to be like, why am I proud of saying that I can use my tongue to destroy as opposed to using my tongue to uplift, to empower, to guide? Why? Because when you're at your lowest, it's like a magnet. You trying to drag everybody down. And I couldn't do it no more, boo. I had to check myself. And mind you, this is all, even though I was going through momentum and I went through, you know, the self-development, and I did the whole process that Cindy did. And I went ahead and said, I want to give back. But it was in the giving back that I started really learning and living what I was learning. Because that first day that I went to no, it wasn't the first day. The second day that I was in momentum, that I got called a martyr to my face. I didn't know what to do after that. My whole image was shattered. And I went, and the tears were coming down and probably a little bit of mocos. And I was like, and in that moment, something snapped in my brain and said, you are a martyr. You have to admit it. Because you want to go ahead and be the one to, you fall on the sword like, oh, why? What are you gaining from? I'm not gaining anything from that. You know, but I went through the process myself. I start coaching. So by the time that I start coaching your team, your LT 148, all the way great. Like, yeah, we great. Like by the time I start coaching you guys, I'm like really looking into like, where is my happiness? Where is it that I am focusing my energy? What's going on? Now that was 4 years ago. So when I really started the work was when I got into the work from behind the scenes.
Wow. And you know what? I love that you share that, because it's so important for people to understand that when you're on a life journey, it's just that, a journey, right? Like I did momentum, my husband did momentum, my kids did momentum, my ex-husband did momentum, his wife did momentum, right? And still we're growing and learning, and we get to make decisions and recontract with ourselves. And I love how you continue to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Look,
it was me. No, mira.
Yeah, and then
after pre. Right now it's just
pretty.
Whatever you want to call me.
With the pretty pens. Don't dare touch our pens, okay? Making tea. She's calling me to get me some tea. I forgot to put myself on disturb. But so when you share about this transformation, you have family. So you have your children, the grandchildren. Estoy en un live de Instagram. That's my mother's home attendant. So you talk. I need to see what's going on.
Oh my God. Let's see those illustrations again. Mama, this is like, this is my family. These are my babies right here. Eileen, this is right here. Look, this is my niece, Penny. Let me see. I'm going to try to turn it because I just got, okay, there we go. That's Penny and stuff. So Momentum Education is an organization in New York City. Hey, Dee. Hey, Dwayne. Momentum Education is an organization in New York City that does a lot of transformational work. So it's really a leadership. There's different courses that you take on self-development. And really the crux of it, it is when you are ready to really get out of your own way, that's when momentum is really about creating that change, right? So it was a space that for me, it was gifted to me by someone that I had no clue who they were. I'd only met that person one time. And when I met that person, I'm explaining, someone asked what was momentum. And so when I met this person one time, and she hunted me down, my emo. And she hunted me down. And I got a call at like 7 something in the morning one day. Once again, the power of prayer, because I'm glad you asked about momentum. And I'm brushing my teeth here at home, and I look in the mirror and I said, I'm just tired. I'm so tired of this. I need a change. I need something. And I finished saying that. I'm brushing my teeth. My phone rings. And it was a friend of mine saying, Terry, who is my emo, Terry Swanson Tucker, wants to talk to you. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why does this lady want to talk to me? She was like, at the time, she was the president of the Board of Education in East Orange here in New Jersey. Right now, she is the lieutenant governor of New Jersey's chief of staff. No somos todo porquería, niña. Okay. But yeah, so she was like, oh, I've been meaning, I was reaching out for you. I have this thing. If you want it, it's free and it's a course and you can go take it. And right there, like, that's another proof positive that when you pray for something, if you really, if it's like, I was at that point where I was at my rock bottom. Wow. Outside, my life was fine. Husband, kids, my health, career, I mean, my 9 to 5, I crack up because as being a victim of child abuse, like sexual abuse as a child, at the hands of a relative, and being a domestic violence survivor, right? I go ahead to be the first Latina to run both departments in my county, in New Jersey.
Let me tell you about my God.
And I'm like, and I always look at that, right? And I'm like, so I always said, when I went through this stuff as I got older, I said, I don't want anybody to go through this, and I want to help people, At that time, I wanted to help people. Now I don't help anybody. No one's helpless. I want to support you. I want to walk with you. I want you to, when you see me, if you need to say something to me, maybe that sometimes I get, one of the things that makes coaching really easy for me is that I just have an energy that people want to tell me stuff. And a lot of times I'm like,
now, do you do coaching as a private, like, does someone contact you and hire you, Miss Latina Magic?
I do. I have clients that are actually overseas in England and stuff like that. So I do have some clients out there. It's not, it's something that I'm working on developing and stuff like that. But I do, if people reach out to me and they're like, look, Bri, I need to, I'm looking for this X, Y, and Z. Are you available? And this is why I say, I'm very clear. I don't just take anybody on. I do not. You have to be ready for this process because it is a lot of work. And guess what? Any good coach is like a therapist, right? Kind of like a therapist. We will talk to you but you are figuring you out. Exactly. It's just that it's a different perspective. You have someone from the outside that's looking at you and saying, that's bullshit, dude. Like, no. No. And Cindy, you know me. And you've seen me coach. And you've been in that room. And it wasn't that I was getting up. I'm not the type of coach that when in a group setting, I want to get up and say the right thing. No, I don't do that. I let spirit guide me. Yes. I'm an intuitive, and I tell everybody. I will tell you, and Cindy knows. Cindy's right there. She's been proof that I've reached out to her, and I'm like, what's this and that? Who's this? And I get like this. My nostrils flare, and I'm like, who's that? Who's that? And I crack up. But Cindy and I also do have a different relationship. When I'm working with a client, you could tailor to the client that you're working with, because not everybody can go in for one thing, but that's not really what they need. they're hiding other stuff, you know? People present, because it's the thing that I did. I presented the thing that I thought was going to be cute to get solved. But when I got called a martyr, I se acabó la mierda. I couldn't hide it.
That's right.
Because a stranger who had no clue who the hell I was telling me the very thing that I was. And so how do you fight that? You can't fight it, right? Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it.
Wow. I mean, that is so deep. Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. So your abuelita schooled you on the power of prayer,
yes.
the power of faith.
Yes.
That despite all the obstacles and challenges and that you were witness to and experienced, that you were still able to persevere, stay on top, get your own personal development, then help others in the process, right?
Girl.
All in preparation.
All this preparation, all of that was preparation for where I'm heading in life. I'm not there yet. No, because right now, the moment that I'm living in right now is the present. I was so busy worrying about what was about to happen that I wasn't paying attention to what was happening. And a lot of us are very guilty of that. You know, like, for example, you want to write a book and you start thinking, you want to write a book. This is the thing. You're like, and I always say everyone has a book in them. Everyone has a book in them. And there are cemeteries filled with people and full of books that never got made because the people were too scared. So we start saying, okay, I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to write and I'm going to write. Oh, I got to worry about publishing. I got to get a logo. What's the title of my book? But motherfucker, you ain't even put one pen to a piece of paper. You don't have the word the. You don't have the letter T written down on that paper. And you already worried about some stuff that ain't happening just yet because you're not ready. So you really have to check yourself. That's where I check myself. I'm telling you, I have conversations in my car where I say to myself, hold up, bitch, what the fuck? No. Like, no. And that's how I talk to myself. Right? I'm like, no, what is wrong with me? Why am I being this way? I can't do this. And I check myself and I stop it and I release it.
I mean, let's talk about your writing. So I remember hearing, we had a conversation once. Yes. Where you were like, oh, I want to write a book, and and I remember then I found out that you were in a writing class, and I was so excited. And then I got to be in a writing class with you and hear your writing, and it blew my mind.
I'm humbled. Thank you.
Blew my mind. Because you know what you just shared, like, thank you for your vulnerability, first of all, to share, right? Like for so many of us, we have similar challenges where we want certain things, but we're so busy focusing on what could happen, what might happen, right? That we don't even embrace the gifts now of the current, right? Yeah,
you're not living in the now. And you know what's so crazy about that, Cindy, about being like that? So I'm always very candid with everybody. I have OCD. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have ADHD. So for me, it's like if I get a thought, it goes like this. It's just a circle. It's a hamster wheel. I'm like, and I had to learn how to take the negative thoughts out of the hamster wheel and put the positive thoughts in there, so that it's always the positive that's coming out. Now, every once in a while, a little negative hamster comes in, but I gotta kick his fucking ass out because we can't do that. We can't have that. We can't live that way. You know, it's this journey, especially that, and I'm glad you touched upon that about vulnerability. The vulnerability was something that for me was impossible. I could not be vulnerable for anything. As a matter of fact, what I was a vulnerability vampire. That was me. That's my journey. I would see people being vulnerable, and because I wasn't able to fulfill that, I wasn't able to do that, right? Because to be vulnerable is to be exposed, and to be exposed is to leave room for potential to go ahead and get hurt.
Wow.
And I couldn't do that, right? I couldn't do that because when I was young, they took that from me twice. They took it from me twice. Once at the age of 4 and once at the age of 14.
Wow.
Right? And so I was like, I gotta be a hard shell. I gotta be like, what's that one from the Fantastic Four, the little rock man? That was me. whatever his name is. I'm really not into that one, but I that's the visual that I want. And so I used to suck up all of everybody's vulnerability, right? It was like a drug. So you would come to me, you know what? And it was like, I was like, really? And it would fill me. And I was like, yeah, yeah. And it was literally like, I really was like that. And when I did momentum and I went through the process and I'm a martyr and I'm all that, and I started dressing and I really start going in and addressing the issue of not being able to be vulnerable, because it was a fear that if I was vulnerable, someone was going to hurt me.
Wow.
You know? And so that was like, you know, many years, right? Because I was well into my 30s by the time I did momentum. I was well into my 30s. So it's like 30 plus years of feeling that way. And then when you let it go, then it was like, forget it. Then I was crying all over the place. I'm a crier anyway, mama. I will see. Listen, I watched the Olympics, and you know when they, I think laugh. You know when the announcers are all like this, right? They get real quiet and they're like, and Jill is skating today.
Yeah.
And she's doing this triple axel in memory of her dog Fido, who just passed away, but Fido helped her when she had cancer. Mama, I'm like, Fido, you're gonna see this right now. That's me, right? So I was good for that, but I wasn't good for sharing the realness of vulnerability, right? Because vulnerability isn't just seeing something and it creates you cry. You're like, oh, I connect to it. Okay. Vulnerability is saying, I will share with you who I am in an authentic and genuine way. And I hold no expectations that you're going to support me. I don't hold any expectations that you're going to understand. I just hold the trust that you will be there.
Wow. And that's so profound, Pri, because it's that vulnerability that when you access that, like you, Pri, like that healer comes out in full force.
Yeah, mama.
And that healer that transcends like the people that you work with at your job, the people, the strangers that you meet in the street. I mean, you meet people in 5 minutes, they're telling you all their business, and you're coaching them into life transformation in literally like 15 minutes, right?
Listen. So, the quickest I've ever done it was in 1 minute. And you know what it was? Was to say to someone, all
right. No, he just wanted to be a silly goose. They just came back home.
So the quickest for me was 1 minute, and it was because I said to someone, hi, you know, how are you? Are you good? That was it. That person broke down. No one has ever said. And I'm like, you know, inside, I'm like this. From the outside, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm here. And I'm over here. And I was at work. It was someone at work. It was an employee. It was somebody who would be a subordinate to me. And I really looked at that. At that point, I looked at that and I said, I get to be vulnerable everywhere, not just in momentum.
That's right.
Right? Not just at home, but I get to be vulnerable everywhere. And when I did that, when I actually did that at work, because I used to hate work. I have my peoples. If my writing people wanted there, I think Ali might have been there too. I might have been like, I hate my job. And, you know, I was like, whatever. I had to change my perspective at work. Yeah. Right? And I had to say that I can't keep complaining about the atmosphere of work when guess what? I'm there. And I create and I add to that atmosphere, right? And so what I started realizing was that if I had to lose the fear, oh, that staff is going to file stuff against me, whatever, blah, 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 for saying the wrong thing. No, that's really not what it was. What it was that I was still afraid to be myself with the people who I interacted more with than my damn family.
Wow.
Right? Because we're at work. I mean, not obviously right now because of COVID and, you know, the pandemic and everything. And I hope everyone is safe and that everyone is practicing social distancing. And if you've lost family members, please accept my most sincerest sympathies and empathy, because my family was affected. We didn't lose anybody. We got some miracles out of it. But, you know, I do have family friends that unfortunately passed and we weren't able to mourn them the way that we would have loved to have celebrated their lives, you know. But you know, I shift at work, and I noticed that when I shifted at work everything started aligning at work.
Right?
And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So, you know, I've only worked in 2 different departments in the family court. I've worked in the domestic violence unit, which is where I started my career as a bilingual probation officer, interviewing domestic violence victims. I've seen and heard it all, boo. I've seen women who have been hogtied and had their acrylic nails pulled out by the roots of the nails. I've seen welts and bruises. And I remember telling one client one time, I thought I was going to get fired. I really did, because I lost it. And I remember telling that the client came in and she was covered in welts, just like, and black eyes, like looking like a raccoon. And she came in, she did the paperwork. She didn't come back. She said, I'm going to come back. I have to pick up my child at school. I said, okay, no problem. The next day, it's like, she didn't come back and whatever. It was like almost 3 o'clock. I call her and I'm like, ma'am, you know, we're not done with the process. You still have to go through the process. And she says to me, you know what I pray for? I'm gonna say a little quick prayer. God, just protect her wherever she's at. I hope she's okay. And she said to me, no, I'm not gonna go file it, because my daughter's father said that he's gonna give me the child support. She had asked him for the child support that he owed her, and he beat the living daylights out of her. Right? And so now at this point, I'm probably about 23. So I'm 23. I have a child. Right, because I had my daughter, my oldest daughter, Celeste. I had her when I was 18. I got pregnant at 17. I had her when I was 18, and I remember thinking, like, this was probably the face I made. The fuck? And I was on that phone, and I said to her, "Ma'am, you don't have a restraining order, an order of protection. You everybody calls it something different. In New Jersey, we call them restraining orders." I said, you don't have a restraining order. And not for nothing, you didn't get like that because he was giving you kisses all over. Wow. And if he did it once, he'll do it again. And then she proceeded to say that somewhere, someone in the courthouse had alerted him that was filed. I said, you don't have anything but a case number, but you won't after today. Wow. And I remember that moment changed my life, because I said to myself, first of all, I had to check. That was one of the first times I had to check myself. I was like, "Ooh, I'm about to get fired," and I just I was like, "Ooh, I got this job." But it really was something that said to me in that moment, I had to get out of that department. And so I kept trying to put in for a transfer, and eventually I was transferred to the child abuse department. I said, "Coño, Dios mío, pero yo voy de un lado para otro." At this point, by the time I had gotten into the domestic violence unit, I had been in a relationship with someone who was very controlling. I was 17, and you know what? That's a whole nother life we about to talk about. When you're 17, you have no business dating a 25-year-old. And when you're 25, you have no business dating a 17-year-old. Let's stop that nonsense, okay? All right, let's stop that.
Talk about it.
There's control, there's manipulation, or whatever. So the person was so controlling. They were like, you don't need to go to college. And I looked at him, and that was the deal breaker for me. The deal breaker for me, how crazy this is, wasn't that he threw me across a room and I landed on a wall. It wasn't that. The deal breaker for me was that he was coming in between me and my education. And mommy taught me, because mommy came to this country at the age of 18 in 1968. And mommy only had a 9th grade education. And mommy said, yo me fajé en una factoría para que tú y tu hermana no tengan que hacer eso. I sacrificed myself in a factory so you and your sister wouldn't. And my mother is super big and super supportive about our education. My father went up to the 6th grade. So it's not like me and my sister had like people that we were looking up to say, oh, okay, let's do this. But my mother ingrained and instilled in that. But when you try to fuck with me in my school, we wasn't having that. So I was like, okay, and took the opportunity and was like, Papi says I can't date you no more.
You threw your dad under the bus.
You know what? I threw my dad under the bus. The crazy part is that I see this man every day. He doesn't recognize me. But when he sees my father in the street, he's like, oh, hola, señor González, ¿se recuerda de mí? And I'm like this. Do you want me to tell my father what it was? Because Papi will slice you with a machete. He don't care. He carries some. Is that what you want? Because I can tell him. Because I'm a tattletale. Ask Patty.
So, Bri, you talking about, and it's so interesting that I always tell my kids, you know, when you walk into a space, you know, are you the thermometer or the thermostat? Right? So the thermostat is the one who sets the tone. You set the temperature in the room. Whereas thermometer, you just gonna read the room and gauge depending on what's going on in the room. So
Yeah.
it's very clear to me that
Uh-huh.
every space that you walk up into, you were just setting the tone. If things got to get cool, you cool it. If they need to warm up and get lively, you warm it up and get it lively.
Yeah, I
And
was a
so,
broken thermometer for a very long time, though.
yeah.
I didn't know the power that I had. I really did not. I didn't know that my presence when I walk into a room is very magnetic. You know, I didn't know that because I didn't think that someone like me could do that. I was just being me. Where I would see other people try very hard to do what I did, I would be like, okay, that's you. I don't need the spotlight. I don't. To me, it's like, you know what? Anybody can get in front of the camera. The power's in the back. Power's in the back of the house, right? The people like, for example, the NBA players, they're amazing. And yeah, they're growing, whatever. And they're multimillionaires. But you know what's funny? Somebody writes that check. That's me. I'd be writing the check. That's what I.
You can write Doctora Cindy Bautista-Thomas. That's the check.
El cheque que te voy a mandar de $1 porque.
So, I mean, it's already, how is it already 9 o'clock? I mean, we got to do a do-over. First of all, I want to, the lessons that you dropped today.
Yes.
I know you had an idea of one thing you were going to share. But what you shared about harnessing your power after all the different things that you had been through, the power of prayer, the power of family, the power of making a different choice, the power of self-awareness, of being persistent and determined in your self-discovery and in your personal development, no matter what, right? Because people have seen you and known that you were powerful, but you didn't even know it was powerful. So it doesn't matter, right? Like, people all the time would be like, oh, yeah. And I'm just like, okay, right. But until you decide, right? Until you decide.
Qué loco.
Right? Until you decide. And I'm so glad that you decided, because you get to shift lives, and you've just started touching this. You've not even touched the surface in the things that God is going to have you to do. And that you're centering your relationship with your creator, your relationship with the ancestors, and how they show up all the time. I remember you said something to me about my grandmother, and I was like, what? What she got? Once you mind your business.
Wait, but let's not even go that far, because recently, right? I had asked you, because I was always checking in on you. What's up with the dissertation, right? What's up with... So understand this about me. I don't control what goes on. I have an ability. I really do. I have an ability. I've worked with very powerful people like Marta. You know, and Marta is like... Martha is hands down Reiki master. Martha is like a conductor of energy. And I've worked with Martha with clients and reading people and whatever. And I've done lives where I've read people, you know, and if a message comes up in the process, trust me, I will stop what I'm doing. And I'm like, who's this? And what's going on? And we will get to it until we hit it. Right. But all of that is nothing if I didn't acknowledge the fact that without people like you in this world coming into my life and pouring into me the way that I pour into you, if it wasn't for people like that, like you, DeMarcus, Martha, Patty, my sister, my friend Jess in England, who I met through DeMarcus, you know, my best friends, my clique that, like, some of them are on my Queso Dill, like, there's a group of girls that we know, and, you know, Alicia, I have Yari, I have T, you know, like Tawana, like there's groups of people that have supported me, even though, like, you know, I am what I am, and I'm electric and magnetic. My writing community, my writing from the womb family, you know, from the master's class, from the first class, from like now the fall or whatever. Like, without all these people, I wouldn't be who I am, right? Wow. My family, you know, and my family is just my immediate family, my extended family. You know, I'm not all by myself here. I didn't get to where I am by myself. And a lot of people want to take the credit and say, I did this on my own. No, you didn't. Bullshit. No, you didn't. No, right, Eileen. It does take a village. It takes a village. Sometimes it's more than a village. It takes about 3 or 4 states. Okay? Let's be real. A whole coast, maybe a whole country. I don't know. But we have to acknowledge that we are all in a symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
Right? We have to acknowledge that. And it is only in that acknowledgement that we then get to move forward, and we get to like really process things and know that we're not alone. Because when you feel like, I've been in crowded rooms and have felt like no one is there. Okay? That's real. That's real. That is like one of those gut-wrenching things that when you experience it, it's just like, it changes your life. When you get to that realization, you're like, oh. But you get to shift that. Yes. And I shift. And I shift and I adjust, right? Yeah. Because I don't change. Because I can go and backslide and be petty pre. What? Oh, and we'll have a whole lot of fun. We have fun. So what do we gain? What do we gain from that? What do we? Because that's always what's in my mind.
Wow. So what is next for you, Pri? What is next for you?
What's next for me? What's next for me is, I'm always working on my spirituality. It's very big for me. I'm not religious. Like I said before, I was born and raised Catholic, but I'm not religious. I am spiritual. I am very big on energy. I'm very big on my intuition. I'm very big on how can I make myself better so that I make the world a better place, right? Because my saying is, I want to leave this world a better place than how I found it. But before I can change the world outside, I got to change this universe that is called Priscila Pender. I have to. Because if I'm out here coaching people, because we got some coaches that do this, I ain't going to say nothing. I'm not going to say who they are because they know who they are. They're deep in their bullshit. We have coaches who say all the right things for all the wrong reasons. I don't do that. That's not me. If I feel something, I say it. If I don't feel it, guess what? It don't come out these lips. Because I don't want to put forth an energy that is not gonna support the growth of someone else. You know?
Look at the eyebrow. Eileen said like the eyebrow.
The Gonzalez brow. All my kids have done it at birth. I swear to goodness on my life. And my sister's kids, by the time that they're 3 months old, they're already like, because that's my father's look.
When I first saw your father's picture, I said, oh my gosh, there goes that eye.
Yeah, like.
So does anyone have any questions for that Doctora Pri before
anything.
You know, we're going to have to do a part 2 at some point because we didn't.
Listen, I'm all about it. I'm telling you right now because it's something that I've been filing. And one of the things, I don't know if I ever told you, Cindy, but there's someone on this live right now that I have to give a message to. I just don't know who it is. But if they have a question, just do it because I've been uneasy.
Ooh, okay. Come on, guys. Put a question in the question box, a Q&A box.
Yes. Eileen, part 2. We could do part 2, part 22, whatever we need.
Eileen, I'm coming for you, girl. I just need to take like a couple of weeks of break. I need a break.
Cindy está cansada, niña. Está cansada esa mujer.
But I'm coming
for you. Hard.
I'm coming for you. So any questions? Does anyone have a question? Put it in the question box. I know you got your peoples. If you put it in the question box, we don't have to say who asked the question. Oh, yeah. If you have a family member, maybe they want to ask you something, but they don't want to know. They don't want you to know.
I'm an open. I will answer. Listen, I am an open book. I tell people, I'm like the army. Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't tell.
I don't be volunteering information, but if you ask me, I will answer honestly. I sure will. Ask me anything, and I will answer it. And if it's none of your business, I'll be like, why you being nosy? It's none of your business. What you doing? You know, but I'm just saying.
I think Winston has a question. Winston.
Oh, where's my boy Winston?
No, now he wants to come up in the camera.
Okay, hey, don't be a hater, Cindy. Don't be a hater right now. Ese hombre cocina. Estate tranquilo.
Right? Tranqui.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Mama, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I just came home a little while ago. I was running around getting ready to take my young lady to college and had to go take the dog to grandma.
Are you
what's
excited?
Your question, Boom?
Actually, not even a question. We had a conversation already before the Candid conversation through inbox, where
Yes.
she sent me some messages. That's why when she said that about the power, I believe it, because she came out of nowhere and just started preaching real good to me in my inbox of what the Spirit told for me to do.
Really?
So I wasn't coming on. I was gonna let somebody else live, but I'm just not to put me on blast.
No, but then he took my seat. But you see how he took my seat? Oh,
fine, come here. I'm gonna acknowledge.
Well, thank you, Chef.
I'm gonna acknowledge the fact of how what you said was absolutely fantastic. I haven't worked on everything yet, but I still have it in my inbox of what you told me to get done.
Like, he didn't even tell me that. Now
Okay,
he gotta tell
listen.
me what was in the inbox.
Wait, he's got to tell you. He's got to tell you, because I'm gonna be honest with you. One of the things is when I do a reading, when I read somebody, because I read people too. So I do a couple of things. I have talents. I read people. I coach people. I use my intuition and my gifts so that I can support the world. I don't keep it to myself. I don't be playing lotto numbers. I don't do none of that crap. But if I gave you that message, it was not me. It was spirit. It was spirit coming and saying, this is the message. I get a lot of DMs from people that are like, oh my God, I so needed to hear that. And it could just be a meme. Sometimes it's just a meme. But like, I have no idea that I don't even remember doing that, but it sounds like me.
But you said something. Like, oh, someone said, Eileen said, when is the book coming?
Oh,
thank you, Eileen, because I was going there.
Okay. So I am working on it. I'm actually actively working on it. I had taken a break because, you know, when you say I'm going to do something and you're like, it looks like this. The reality, the honest truth was that in that moment when I originally started, because thanks to Cindy is very close with Alicia Anabel Santos La Santera. If you follow her, _ La Santera. That's my homie. That's my homie. And I thank Cindy so much for the introduction, because it was the thing that I needed when I didn't even know I needed it. And I started it. I had this idea of this book that I wanted to write, but where I was in life at that point, that was extra fucking messy. I'm so sorry. Esto era un reguero, niña. That no cleaning service was ever going to get that. And I had to really go through that. And as you know, and I know my followers know, I recently had hip surgery that I put off for 4 years when you and I met. For 4 years, I lived with the pain because I said, I can't do it right now. I can't even entertain the doctor because I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. And eventually I took care of it in November, right? After 4 years. And I really, in November, my surgery was October 29th. Actually, tomorrow will be 90 days since I had my surgery. And I told myself, I knew I needed to have surgery even before the doctor told me I needed to have surgery. But I had already said, the minute they told me I needed to have surgery, I said, I'm healed already. I just have to go through the process. So whenever somebody would ask me, they're like, oh, you haven't, what's wrong? I said, I'm healed. How are you feeling? I'm healed.
Excellent.
So when I go to a follow-up, right? And I go to a follow-up with the doctor, and the doctor's like, how long have you been out of surgery? He looks at my files like, 5 weeks. I said, He was like, but you're looking like you were been out of surgery for 3 months already.
Wow.
I said, I told you I'm healed. I've been telling you. I just have to go through the process.
You know what? We about to what? She about to heal.
So the book in here. So when I go through this surgery, right? I have my hip surgery October 29th. The next week I'm at home, and I really, let me tell you, I don't want to, it wasn't a depression that I hit, but it was a realization when you cannot do for yourself and you got to count on other people to do the basic things. I was in a bed for a total of 10 hours a day. I couldn't get up. And if I got up, it had to be with assistance. I fell at one point and fell on the hip that I had surgery. You know, I went through such, I'm putting this, I went through such a breakdown that in that moment, when I had a breakdown in this very room, and my bed is right there, because this is my office, my workspace, and I had that breakdown, and there's a lot of revelations that came out of it. Like, I am bisexual. I came out to my mom, and she sat there, and she looked at me, and she was like, what? And, you know, I said what I came out, I told her, you know, that I'm bisexual, whatever. And she And that was a later in life revelation. That wasn't something that I've known for a long time. I had a feeling and I would push it to the background, push it to the background, push it until I just couldn't anymore, because I just needed to figure me out, how to figure me out. And my biggest fear was that my mother wasn't going to love me anymore. That was my biggest fear. And I was like, my mom's not going to love me. She's going to hate me. My parents are very religious. And you know what? If who I am is not good enough to love, then maybe I don't deserve to have that love. You know what I'm saying? And
wow.
And when my mom looked at me and she said, but you're my baby and I love you no matter what, like, it changed my life. After that day, Cindy, I've almost died at least 3 times in my life. Wow. And I'm still here. I almost died 4 years, almost 4 years ago. Not this December, this November will be 4 years ago. I've had like other instances, and but the biggest fear of my life was giving my mom that information.
No, and that is, Eileen said that's like, a part too, because there's a lot of people I would imagine that could relate, where they've put away their sexual feelings because of risk of losing family relationships, and later in their lives find themselves at this impasse of, do I share? Do I hold this in? But then I'm not living my authentic self.
Right. And then, you know, the funniest thing, that the first person I came out to was to my husband. That's who I came out to.
I love, that's all. Wait, listen, we're about to be on here for 2 hours. They got to cut us off. What?
I came out to my husband. That's who the first person I came out to. And it's funny because I came out to him and I was I was coaching, right? So that you understand, because in my mind, things work a little differently. Yeah. So I'm coaching, I'm doing, I think it was LT 179. It was a lot. No, I'm lying to you. It was the one before 179. So I think it was like 161. So I did, you guys were LT 148, leadership team 148. Then I did leadership team 161. And then I did leadership team 179. That was the last one that I just did. It was in 2019. So this was,
that was the one that my friend was on there, right?
Who was your friend?
Letitia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Letitia was on the 179. Yeah. So when I go, you know, I'm doing the life coaching and I'm coming to these revelations as to who I am, putting names and putting like saying, oh, okay, that's what this feeling is. I have always felt something, but I couldn't put a name to it. And I'm the type of person that I need a label to everything. When I was in high school and a boy liked me, I didn't assume I was his girlfriend. You bugging. You better ask me out. Circle yes or circle no. I had an attitude too.
Circle the paper.
Circle something. I was like, I see, right? And I'm going through that process. And the thoughts that came into my head was during the residential. So there is a part in the momentum where you go away for a weekend and you're isolated with your group, and it's at the end of the journey, of the 90-day journey. And so I am sitting here and I'm in my house, and I was like this, and I was shaking because I said, I cannot go into the most vulnerable moments in this process with a group of people that I've been coaching. I could not be a hypocrite and not live in my truth when I am telling people, live in your truth. How? I was the biggest hypocrite. You know, and I would drop, you know, when I realized what it was to my people, I dropped little hints, because you still want people, just because I say to you that I identify as I identify doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change the core of me. It's just that's me. That's just, I see beauty in all genders, to be really honest. If you're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful person. It has nothing to do aesthetically. That's your internal stuff. Like, how are you presenting? How are you coming out to the world, you know? And so I had to have a very difficult conversation that Friday, right before I leave to residential. And I said, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. I'll never do it. And because God is the way that God is, I said to my husband, you know, I came out to him and I told him, and I'm crying, and I'm like, and I said, because this is the other part, because I always put myself in the other person's position, right? That's me. And the way that I believe we can heal is when we can always put ourselves, when we stop in our moment and how we're feeling, we say, hold on, what about that other person? right? If I'm giving you a message, what about that other person? So one of the things that I said to him was, I cannot imagine what it feels like to be on your side hearing what I'm telling you.
Wow.
But please understand, I'm not saying this lightly, and I respect whatever decision you want to make at this point. And so my husband, because I know that was God talking to me, said, we're good. I love you.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to tell you that's just how it stayed for a little bit.
Listen,
I'm not going to.
What's interesting is that, so out 177's question, you didn't even realize you were answering it by sharing what you just shared. And that's spirit, right? So she said, how do you know to encourage your partner to be honest about where you stand in your relationship? And you told us that you had to be authentic. You told us that you were living in incongruency. Incongruency is when you're feeling one thing, but you're acting a whole different way. And so many of us are incongruent. I say that word a million times in my household. Yes. My husband is just about done with that. I'm like, hold on. You saying you want to release some weight, but you eating that, you frying them pork chops.
But wait a minute, hold up.
True story.
Because it can't. But we could only eat but a little bit of the pork chops. So don't play yourself.
No,
we ain't eating 5 like we used to.
That's what I get. We have another question.
Yes.
I'm loving these questions. Okay. So Alt asked us, I feel like my partner is disconnected and I had the discussion and makes me feel like nothing's wrong. So come through for Alt.
Okay, so say it one more time. Say the question one more time.
Beat that. Hope it comes back. I don't know. Okay. I feel like my partner is disconnected and I have the discussion and it makes me feel like nothing is wrong. So it sounds like there's a disconnection. When it's addressed, the partner makes it feel like nothing is wrong, but something is not aligned right there.
All right. So here's what I would say to this person if I was coaching them. That's nothing but your mirror. So where's the disconnection with you? Where are you disconnected? Drop the pen.
Beat that.
Where are you disconnected? Because you're disconnected with something. That's what that means. When we are in front of someone and we're with, especially when you're in a relationship with let's say a romantic relationship, to keep it that way. When you're in a romantic relationship, right? And you're with this person and and there's things that just trigger you, yo, and you're like, come on. Like what? It's not that person. That's a you thing. Yeah. That's a you thing, right? So what I would say is look into you as to where you're disconnected.
Wow.
Right? Because when you begin to address with you where you're disconnected, if you're because right now the thing is you're feeling that way. If your partner was feeling that way and you have good communication, you have an open dialogue, they would be able to say to you, I don't feel like, it sounds very different to different people. Be like, what's up, yo? Or like, what's really hood? Like, or sweetheart, what's going on? It could be that. But when you're off, you know it. Come on now, let's be real. We know when we're upset with our partners and why we're upset, and then we hold it because we like this about to start World War V. But if only you had the conversation when you felt it and didn't wait. Sometimes you do have to wait because it's kind of like how they used to tell us back in the day, write the letter, put it away. And if you still feel the same way in 24 hours, put it away for another 24 hours. And if you still feel the same way in 48 hours, certain people, I'll be like, hold it for 72. If not, mail it out.
Hold it for 72.
Hold it for 72. Sometimes, some topics are really like, you really got to sit with it. But even those topics where you really got to sit with it, you really got to sit with self. See, you can't control someone else. And if you can, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not in control of that person. That person is that's just an illusion for you. That is not real. It's not.
You better preach, Coach Pre. So when is your coaching practice? Are you open for clients?
If people want to reach out to me, they can DM me. And then right now I'm in the process of just revamping a few things. And to stay tuned, follow me if you want at my Latina Girl Magic. And you let me know. I saw you on Cindy's live. I'm gonna be like, okay, because if not, there's too many people out there that are energy vampires.
You better
and
talk about
I just can't. I'm the garlic. Nope, you ain't. Nope, I got a garlic chain. Yo me pongo los aretes de ajo, whatever. I put garlic. Nope, we're not doing that because I know what that's like, boo. I know what that's like.
She said
arete
arete de ajo. I mean, someone's gonna make those arete de ajo. So, Doctora Pri, this was such a wonderful delight. I want to thank everyone that participated in the conversation. I am going to take 2 weeks off because I need rest. I'm taking my daughter to college this weekend, and a sister girl was already crying earlier today. I'm gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay because she's gonna be okay. And thank you for the gifts that you gave us tonight. I feel like I need to listen to this 2, 3, 4 times because
girl, you and me both.
You dropped.
I'll forget what I said because
I
just dropped messages. I just dropped messages. Listen, Cindy, thank you so much. Thank you.
Look, I mean, he you had him taking my seat. I mean,
he did. He said, no, pero espérate, he told you. He said to you, I need you to exit stage left, Cindy, because it's my turn. Okay? And you said, where's your question? Because you was like, you can kick me out my seat. Where's your question? He said, I don't have a question, but I got to tell her something.
Right?
Okay.
But I'm so glad that he shed that light onto you because it's so important too. What I'm learning as well, and I am still growing in this, is to accept the compliments when they come.
Yes.
Acknowledge the accomplishments, acknowledge the accolades. We are similar in that people say, oh my goodness, you poured life into me. And you be like, oh, no, but you know, girl, but that was you. No. I want you to embrace the moment right now that you gifted all these people that were here with us right now. And then all the people that are going to get to watch this on the replay. You blessed us with so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what, Cindy, and to you, Winston, I love your love. It's so dope. Like, I love looking at you guys. And, you know, it's funny because I'm very funny about the people that I follow. I'm very intentional, right? I'm very intentional with my words. I'm very intentional with my actions. I'm not willy-nilly. I'm very intentional with who I follow, especially because Cindy and I, one of the things that I said to myself was when I first saw you, I said, she's going to be my friend. I just have to go through the process because right now we can't be friends right now because she's going through it. Right? She's going through the process and I was going through the process. Right. And so when you say, and I crack up when you say that I was stalking you, it wasn't so much that, it wasn't so much stalking, Cindy. It was like admiring you, like, damn, Cindy, like, you know, like, but it was a light there's a light that you have that you don't even notice it because you are always in light. Even when you are in your darkest moments, you are light. And to see, and I heard about Winston before, I remember, you know, and then Winston got the page, and then I was like, what, that food looks good. Do you deliver to Jersey? No, shit. Well, I could at least repost it, right? I could at least repost it so that my New York followers or anyone that's in the area can follow and can order, right? I just posted something. He said the Valentine's Day special. I said, you better order before he sells out. You better order, right? Because it doesn't take anything for me to support someone who is genuine about what they're doing, right? Which is why for you, Cindy, and for Winston, whatever you need, I'm here.
Thank you.
I will always be here. Even if I physically am no longer on this earth, because we are not guaranteed. I could end this live right now and drop that on the floor. That is a realization. But I will always, my energy and my spirit will always be there with you because that is who you mean that much to me. And if someone means that much to you, that means they mean that much to me as well.
Oh, I receive it.
And so, you know, I understand what you're saying about the gifts. I'm very guilty of saying, girl, stop. But now I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. Exactly.
Thank you.
I receive it.
Humbly. Thank you.
I receive it. Well, have a good night. God bless you.
Thank you. You too, Mama.
And enjoy. Keep living that life. I can't wait for the journey, for me to witness the journey. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.